Welcome, I'm Captain Stromberg, and in this episode I'm going to show you how to make a Myblock, and we're going to have some input values and output values on the Myblock. So this is my code. This reads the number of degrees that the B and the C motor are currently showing, and then it's going to go through this math block. It's going to add A plus B and divide it by C, which is going to give us our average. And it's going to take the output value and compare it to this other value, which we're going to add with a Myblock, and it's going to output if it's true or false. So our input value will be how far we want the robot to go, and this is very useful. For example, if you're using the light sensor to follow a line and you have it in an infinite loop until something happens. And this is the something. We want to go a certain number of rotations and then have it stop. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight the code that we want to turn into a Myblock, and then Tools, and go into the Myblock Builder. So we want to give it a name, and I always use MB and underscore, and then give it, that way I know all of my Myblocks are Myblocks. And we're going to call it motor average greater. You want to be a little bit specific with your name, but not so specific that that's what the description is for. So in here we'll add the description: compares the input value to the average rotations of the B and C motors and returns true if the motors rotations are greater than the input value, else false. So now we have a good description. And we're counting the rotations, so we're going to make the icon the little rotation symbol. Now we need two parameters, so we're going to add two parameters, and we're going to deal with the first parameter first. In this parameter setup, this is an input and it's a number, and the parameter that we're going to put in here is going to be the number of rotations. So we'll name it number of rotations. We want to give it a nice icon, and we want to make sure we always use the same icons for the same kind of values. And that way we don't get confused later. So if we see this circle, we know that's the number of rotations. So now I want to look at our second value, and this is going to be an output, and it's going to be true false. So we're going to assign it true false as the symbol. We go to the parameter setup, and it's a logic, so we're going to change this to logic. And what's the default value, true or false? And we'll just leave it as false for the default, and it's an output type. Well, that actually gets rid of our default value. And so the default is, and the name is true false. So now we have this all set up, and we're going to make sure that we have the correct icons. And we've got three good icons, and we're using consistence. And we'll check the parameter. This is the number of rotations. We named it. It is an input. It's a number. This one is an output. It's logic. And we've got the icons we want. So we'll go ahead and hit finish. And now we get these extra blocks. And now we can connect this. So this is our input. So we want to compare this to here. And then our output should go there. So here we're going to, again, average these two, and that's going to come over here. And then we're going to compare it to see if this one, the input one is greater than what the average is, and if so, we're going to exit. So now we've got a nice little Myblock, and that's how you make it with using the parameters.